In a landmark judgment, the Karnataka High Court has today pronounced its verdict in the Hijab Row. One of the primary observations of the verdict was that hijab is not essential to the Islamic faith. Muslim political leaders, the likes of Owaisi, Omar and Mehbooba Mufti, have opposed the verdict, citing violation of Article 15 and denial of the right to choose. While we, of course, appeal through our medium that everyone respects the verdict of the court and maintains peace and harmony, well, of course, politics has erupted once again. Let's quickly show you some reactions coming in, and then of course we will debate this. Reactions in just a second, but let me also bring in some guests on the broadcast. Ifra Jan, National Conference spokesperson, is joining us live. Raman Malik, BJP spokesperson, is also live with us. Dr. Lubna Kabal, Impar media panelist, joins us live. Rekha Agarwal, senior advocate, is also live with us. Let me also bring in Ajay Verma, senior journalist on the broadcast. Syed Abbas, political analyst, is also joining us live. Rekha Agarwal, on this Article 15 issue and premise, certain political leaders are saying that this verdict violates their right to Article 15. Do you believe that is correct in saying that?
Not at all. Though I have not read the judgment, in all fairness, I must say that from all that I've heard in the various reports in the media, one of them your channels also, I don't think that the Karnataka High Court judgment in any way violates any of the fundamental rights which are guaranteed to every citizen of the country, whether that citizen is a Hindu or a Muslim. The Karnataka High Court larger bench, one must not forget that it was the larger bench which has passed the verdict. All that the court has tried to do is try to balance out the fundamental rights that every citizen enjoys vis-a-vis the right to practice a religion, that nobody is interfering with that right. But if any part of that religion which somebody is taking in isolation and saying that wearing it on their sleeve, if I may say so, that look, I'm a Muslim and I follow the Islam, and therefore I'm going to wear a hijab to school, whether I care two hoots for what the uniform prescribes. This is all that the Karnataka High Court has tried to put into perspective. Your fundamental rights are there. You want to follow Islam? Follow Islam. Nobody is stopping you. You want to wear a hijab? Wear a hijab. Nobody is stopping you from wearing a hijab. But you cannot wear a hijab to school. Why? Because it is not an essential religious practice. It is not an essential part of the. It is not an essential ritual. Which the test which has been laid down in 1954 in the Schedule Mud is the various courts over the last few years, whether it is the Sabrimala case or even whether it was the Ayodhya case, often religion is a very important topic in our country. We are all devout religious people, and we like to follow and profess a religion, at the cost of somebody else. That is the unfortunate part. So all that the court has said is that, look, you want to follow the Islamic religion, you want to wear your hijab anywhere, please do that. As Dr. Lubna Kamal also mentioned, that will she be stopped from wearing a hijab? No, she will not be stopped from wearing a hijab anywhere. But yes, if the school in which she teaches, if that school lays down a uniform dress code for teachers, then she may not be permitted to wear a hijab. She may have to wear a prescribed, prescribed dress code. It may be whatever. It may be a headscarf for everybody, but not because you are following Islam, or whether you're a Hindu or whether you're a Christian. Tomorrow the schools may say that nobody can wear any headgear at all. But now coming over here to what the Sikh religion prescribes, the Sikh religion has the courts have held that wearing a turban is an essential religious practice. So therefore, let us not draw, the Islamic followers will be quick to draw a comparison with the Sikh religion and say that, look, the Sikh people, they are allowed to wear turbans. They're allowed to wear turbans. Why? Because in accordance with the essential doctrine test, essentiality test, pagdi, or a turban is essential ritual. Every Sikh has to follow. Therefore, a Sikh can wear a turban.
Okay, I will get the others in, but I'm being told we can now play out those political reactions. We've got them now. Let's quickly play them out, and then let's also get another guest.
स्कूल सिर्फ एक ही कल्चर को प्रोटेक्ट करेंगे, किसी और कल्चर को प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करेंगे। ये गवर्नमेंट के स्कूल सिर्फ एक ही रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिस को एसेंशियल बोलेंगे, दूसरे को नहीं मानेंगे। अब बोल दीजिए, बताइए फिर संविधान का वायलेशन ये तो क्या है?
नहीं, हिजाब पे जो बैन जो लगाई गई उसको जो हाई कोर्ट ने कायम रखा है, ये बहुत ही मायूसकुन फैसला है कि एक लड़की या एक औरत को ये भी इजाज़त नहीं है कि वो क्या पहने और क्या ना पहने। तो मैं समझती हूँ एक तरफ से हम बहुत बड़े दावे करते हैं औरतों के अधिकारों की, उनकी इख्तियारात की, कि उनको बाइख्तियार बनाना है, एम्पावरमेंट करना है, और दूसरी तरफ से हम उनको ये भी हक नहीं देते हैं कि वो क्या पहने और क्या ना पहने।
Okay, let me bring in Ifra Jan of the NC at this point. Ifra Jan, why are you playing politics over the issue? Are political parties like yours attempting to politicize this verdict, or is this an unfair charge?
I would say that women's emancipation and the right to choose for a woman should be at the heart of Indian politics and should be the heart of any person who's trying to do politics anywhere in the world, because that essentially is the essence of liberalism, that a woman and every person should be allowed to choose for themselves. The second thing Ms. Rekha said, she said that you can wear a hijab, but not at the cost of others. I think that is the key point here. How is it that if a girl wears a hijab, how does it affect the fundamental rights of a student sitting next to her? It does not. Unless you get triggered by her religious practice, how does somebody wearing a headscarf, how does she violate? How does she somehow end up scandalizing the whole school? Now, the third point she's been making is about the uniform, constantly about the uniform. In any society which is diverse, just like our country, India, which is a very diverse nation, a uniform has to be accommodative. Accommodative uniform means that it has to allow for religious practices, some religious practices of other students and every students. At least the school I went to, we had many Hindu students who would wear a tilak after they would do their puja. Never was it a problem, because we are, as she mentioned at the end of the day, a very religious society. Now, we have seen some pictures of uniform and what a right uniform can be from Britain, from US, from other places, even though there's no uniform in the United States. Many schools have actually, to accommodate everybody, allowed for turbans and headscarves, even in places like Britain, which are Christian majority areas.
Raman Malik of the BJP respond. Raman Malik of the BJP coming in.
I have just one last point to make, if I'm allowed to make that. And also, one has to see that there was a similar case like this in South Africa, where a Hindu girl who had emigrated from India to South Africa wanted to wear a nose pin, because a nose pin was to her a cultural religious practice. Just a second.
Okay. Yes. Owaisi has also cited England. He has also cited the example of England. Raman Malik. I'll come back to you, Ifra. Raman Malik, let me get in the others. A lot of the panelists haven't spoken. Mr. Malik, you're on mute.
Those wanting to cite other countries like Mr. Owaisi or Ibna Ben or others must understand two particular issues. One, they should not forget the hijab ban and the other bans that are there in European countries, where it is illegal.
There's no hijab ban.
And burqa ban is there, something like that. So France is one such country. Now, let's understand the second aspect. You're talking about India and you're taking protection under the Indian Constitution. Please stick to India. If you do not like the Constitution, if you do not like the country, you have options of immigration, please do so. The third most important factor is, when you're talking about issues such as my wish, my will, my religious practices, I should be given a right to choose. Why is it that a child is forced to have a khatna or a halala just because he or she does not have a will at that point in time? Let the child grow and then let them decide whether they want to go ahead with it or not. So don't put in issues which are irrelevant to the topic. Let's stick down to the topic. The topic is simple. The Honorable High Court, a senior bench of the Honorable High Court, has made a verdict. That option of going to the Honorable Supreme Court is there with people. Please exercise it if you want. But the basis remains that if you start putting differential between the students in the school, you are creating a bifurcated, separated, non-secular society which is based on the principle of hate and appeasement, which you have been enjoying since 1947. Also, let me put it very clear, like Rekha ji has very honestly cited the 1954 judgment, and that judgment clearly tells the tenets which are important for a religious practice and are integral part and cannot be done away with. If you have a problem, please go ahead to the Honorable Supreme Court and challenge that. But do not start spreading misinformation. Please work as per law of the land. Do not think कि ये हमारे अब्बा जान का घर है और इसको हम जब मर्जी चाहे जैसे मर्जी चाहे चलाएंगे. ये इस देश में नहीं होगा. संविधान से चलेंगे. संविधान सर्वोपरि है. कोई भी रिलीजियस बुक संविधान के ऊपर नहीं होगी.
Lubna Kamal coming in also. Dr. Lubna Kamal wants to respond to you and rebut you. Lubna Kamal.
What kind of language was that? Who's saying even that? We are law-abiding citizens, and we uphold respect the judgment. What we are saying, he should try to understand what we are trying to say. We are just trying to put across a point that as per Quran, as per Hadith, hijab is essential to Islam.
What part?
No one is forcing anyone to...
What part? 24, 23, 33, which one are you referring to?
I just want to get in,
Uday, can I intervene?
Ajay, I will come to you. I'll get Ajay and Abbas in just a second. But yes, allow Lubna Kamal a response. Raman Malik had an intervention to what she said. Dr. Lubna.
Yes, I'm done. It's just that it is an essential religious practice. And
Okay, you've completed your point, but Ifra wants to come in there. Ifra wants to come in there to rebut what Raman Malik just said.
Exactly. Everybody is constantly trying to portray it as some sort of reform within the Muslim community, which the Karnataka High Court judgment has also cited. And this is exactly why we disagree. It's not the point of reform. At this point, we're dealing with discrimination.
No, but Ifra, I'll get in Ajay. I'll get in Ajay and Saeed Abbas. Ifra, are you in opposition to the High Court order on the hijab being an essential practice of Islam part is concerned, or the uniform and rules in education institutes part is concerned? Which of the two parts do you disagree with?
Okay, I am saying that a uniform should be accommodative of all the religions, just like all. For example, this was also cited in front of the Karnataka High Court.
But you don't believe, Ifra, that educational institutions should have the right and the prerogative to decide their own rules?
Yeah, they should have they obviously have the right to decide their own rules, but obviously they have to be accommodative.
Okay, they should be accommodative. Ajay Verma.
See, what I am saying is point number one, what my honorable guest talked about the reform in the Islam. I don't asking for Islam reform because religion is religion, never talks wrong about things. Now coming to the education.
But आप ही घूंघट की बात कर रहे थे अभी थोड़ी देर पहले.
I'm coming back to your point today about the educational institutions. Every educational institution has the right to have its own uniformity about things. If a Muslim girl can't go in hijab, a Sikh boy shouldn't even be allowed in a paggad. A Hindu boy should not be allowed in a saffron.
That is not known as
paggad. Let me be very clear.
Education
institution should
be
for education for the next generation.
Ajay, don't be derogatory towards religion.
Education means education.
Ajay, don't be derogatory towards religion. It is the star. Don't call it a paggad.
No.
Mean your words.
What kind of words are you using?
If you can talk about Abba Jan, if you talk about Abba Jan,
on a debate on a national channel.
We are on a national channel.
If you call that a paggad, I have an objection.
Pagdi I am talking about, Karan Sahab.
Don't call it paggad. It is a dastar. Please understand.
What?
It is known as dastar. It is not paggad.
Okay, fine. I am talking about dastar. If a boy is allowed in a dastar, why should one be allowed? Why should be allowed in a saffron? Why should be allowed in a hijab? Educational institution is for education.
I would want to get in. This is actually something that
the 1954 judgment.
This is actually something that Mr. Mukul Rohtagi was also pointing out today. He said that
if we have to have a religion out of educational institution, We need to follow these things.
No, but there's a
Sir,
difference
sir.
there. There's a difference there, which is what
go
the
and
point that he's
question
making,
High Court on the
saying that
1954
turban
decision.
is a part of the daily practice of Sikhism. That is the distinction here between a turban and a hijab. That's the point that's also being made. Okay, Saeed Abbas, let's allow him in as well. He hasn't spoken at all. Saeed Abbas gets in a quick word and then I'll go back to the rest of our panelists. Saeed Abbas.
Not a quick word, sir. I need my time.
Saeed Abbas, a turban is part of daily practice of Sikhism. Hijab is not. That is the distinction that has been drawn.
Okay, now allow me to make my point, please. 45 minutes, not a word. I have not interrupted anyone. Kindly lend on the same courtesy. Thank you very much. Now, this whole discussion, time and again, we come through there. Let me tell you, I come from the land of Karnataka, which is the land of Kuvempu and Baswana. I've traveled the length and breadth of these places like Udupi, Kundapur, Chikmagalur, and I can tell you there has been never any such issue. Why in the BJP ruling government this happens? This is completely political, my friend. Also, as a matter of fact, let me tell you, when we bring in these double standards of, I have many of my...
Saeed Abbas, the BJP has not written the verdict. The High Court has written the verdict.
But who did the politics? Who did the politics, sir? Who sent the men with the saffron?
Sir, you and your kind.
No. Now don't interrupt.
My friend, you and your kind.
Now don't
who
interrupt
live on
me,
the
Mr.
appeasement politics.
Uncivilized, mannered person. Don't interrupt me. Did I speak?
Hey, Saeed Abbas,
Stop it
uncivilized
now.
person,
45
दिखा
minutes into
देंगे.
the debate.
Don't
Uday,
try
how
and
can you allow
become,
this, Uday?
don't
How can you
try
allow
and
this?
become the
Now, can
puncher
you
wala
please
that you
shut
are
up?
not.
Can you
You
please
shut
shut
up.
up?
God.
Don't talk like
Because
this.
you
45
called.
minutes. I haven't interrupted. Allow me my time, or
What
don't
are we
invite me on
saying,
the
man?
panel. Allow me on my point. Okay, the point I'm trying to make here is the Karnataka government ruled by the BJP has time and again politicized this issue. Time and again they sent across the men wearing saffron shawls. They even went about to a girl, almost these boys trying to pounce on her. What kind of a mannerism is this?
What was her
RSS has
name?
been supporting.
Syed also
VSP
mentioned
has
what
been
was her
supporting.
name?
BJP has been supporting. They have
Syed
time and again
also
made this
mention
communal
her name.
and politicize this. Nobody can
Mention
deny that.
her name,
I come
please.
from Bangalore.
Harry, what
I
is
traveled
this? He's
to,
not allowing anyone to
Udupi,
speak.
Chikmagalur, many places. Never been an issue. These girls have been
Syed,
wearing so
my
many
dear
years.
friend,
From
would you-
50,
would
60
you
years
name
they've
the
been
girl?
wearing. My sisters have been wearing, and everyone. Why the problem now? Why the problem now for these schools and colleges
If
which have
something
been
is
allowing?
going on
and now
without
suddenly
the-
you get this Nostradamus prophecy to stop it? What is the problem? Hasn't all across India there have been girls wearing hijab and going to
Syed,
schools and colleges? Why
can
the
I ask
problem
you a
now?
simple question?
Because BJP is
My
in
friend,
government and
my friend, have
BJP
a
is
glass of water
anti-minority.
and answer a simple
Mr.
question.
Raman Malik, let me tell you on your face, your government is anti-minority and you cannot oppress us.
Okay,
time
you are
and
not a
again.
minority, sir.
In
You're not a
Kashmir,
minority.
Kanyakumari, Kerala,
Kashmir, you're not a
girls have been
minority.
wearing hijab.
Kerala,
What is
you're
the
not a
problem with Islam, I
minority.
ask you?
Who says
Today,
you are a
what is the
minority in
problem
Kerala
with
and
Muslims?
Kashmir?
You speak
Sir,
of
who says that
Beti
you are a
Bachao,
minority in
Beti
Kerala and
Padhao?
Kashmir?
Is this how you Beti
Now,
Bachao
now
and Beti
this is
Padhao?
how you treat
Why do you give this?
the
Hijab or
Parsis,
kitab?
the
Why
Sikhs,
can't
that you
Muslim
start
girls
attacking
have
them.
hijab and
Syed,
kitab?
give me a simple
But this is not
answer,
just about
yaar.
one thing. If you say
Syed,
Beti Bachao,
Syed, calm down,
Beti
have a glass
Padhao,
of water.
there needs to be education.
Syed, have a glass
You
of
cannot
water,
hate
my friend.
education here.
My dear
If there is a
friend, have a
choice
glass of
girl
water.
not
Calm
to wear a
down,
hijab,
calm down.
It is her choice.
Calm down,
If the
Syed.
same girl
Syed,
has a
BP
choice
बढ़ जाएगा,
to wear a
भाई.
hijab, it is her choice.
Syed, भाई, BP
So
बढ़
you can't have
जाएगा.
double
Shan.
standards
बोलने तो
here.
दो उसको.
No double standards. If Sikh brothers are allowed to wear a turban, so is the
Then
girl
you
to be
must,
allowed
my
to wear a
friend,
hijab.
question
You
the
cannot have double
1954
standards.
Ifrajan,
judgment of
Ifrajan.
the Honorable Supreme
Okay,
Court.
Okay, let's allow the others. Ifrajan and Lubna Kamal also coming in.
It's
Ifrajan,
their choice.
Ifrajan,
This is exactly,
Ifrajan.
This is exactly what we are trying to point out, that it's not just an issue of reform as is being called. It's actually an issue of one group that is being abused, just like we saw on this channel, that is being sidelined and that is being thrown out of the educational institutions. And it is the thing that the context here is discrimination. And the context here is not women's emancipation, as some people would want you. I mean, the ruling party spokesperson has twice made seriously anti-Muslim jibes on the channel itself.
Raman Malik, direct charge on you. Raman Malik, direct charge on you.
See, those who have lived on the basic principle and premise of being, royals because they are in minority
We are not
and they
royals.
should be
We are
appeased.
citizens of this country.
You are royal.
course they are.
Why the Abdullahs have not faced anything till date in Kashmir, whereas every normal Kashmiri has gone through hell because they are royals. Now let's understand a simple thing.
What the hell
Let's
is he
understand a
saying,
simple
man?
thing.
He's not a Kashmiri.
Everybody had
Not a
appeasement
Kashmiri
done
too.
for you. Now, if somebody says that please stop appeasement, you have a problem.
There is no appeasement. I don't know what like. Are you really serious? This is
In
about
the last
educational
70
institutions
years, if you
and
say
girls
there's been
being
no
thrown out
appeasement
of
of
educational
Muslims,
institutions.
it would be a
the
joke.
main issue
क्या
was
कर
women
रहे हो?
emancipation.
So let's
The main
stick to the
was
issue.
how
They have
the
been,
women
Ajay, they have been
empowered.
digressing. If they digress, I will answer. If they don't digress,
You
I
are
will
not
not answer.
digressing. You're making
Yes, you
anti-Muslim
did.
jibes. to
Dr.
please
Lubna,
your electorate.
Dr. Lubna, Dr.
No,
Lubna.
I have not crossed my constitutional
You are
Dr.
right.
Lubna,
basically
Dr. Lubna.
making anti-Muslim jibes. जो hate speech देते रहते हो वही कर रहे हो. जो करते हो बीजेपी वाले वही कर रहे हो. पंचर वाला. Is this what
बहन मेरी कौन सी
नहीं,
एंटी
मैं
मुस्लिम
आपकी
देख
बहन
रही
नहीं हूँ. Please don't tell me बहन मेरी. Nobody is your sister. You call us puncture walas. You go on and you actually have hate speech and then you say बहन मेरी. Seriously, आप लोगों की वजह से देश बदनाम हो गया है हमारा. आप लोगों की वजह से पूरी दुनिया सवाल
राणा
करती है.
अयूब काइंड है ना? We are the Rana Ayub kind.
आप प्लीज चेक करिए. Check every freedom index. Check religious index. Check freedom index. Check every index. No
You
wonder
can
people call you
abuse the
people
Prime
Nazis.
Minister of India.
आप लोगों
You
की
can
वजह से
call
देश
him Chor,
बदनाम
you
हो
can
गया
call
है.
him Kasai, and you can call him all the names.
Who has called
but
him? The only
your
person who's
freedom
been
is
making-
under.
आप bigotry बोल रहे हैं यहाँ
If
पे.
something of the same kind is
इससे
done
बात नहीं कर रही हूँ.
anywhere,
Who's this?
you
Get some
start killing
civilized
people.
man. Get some civilized
Uncivilized?
people
What
on
are
the
you?
channel, you
You are
know.
only showing your own.
Sayyid Abbas,
Get
Sayyid
some
Abbas,
civilized
Sayyid
people.
Abbas, Ifra Jan has lodged a strong protest at what you were called by Raman Malik. Raman Malik claims he is not exceeding his constitutional privilege. I'll allow Sayyid Abbas a quick word.
I think we need to understand, when we come on a debate, we need to be respectful of each other. Unnecessary speaking over somebody else's time is absolutely not fair because all our time is precious.
मुद्दे पे आइए.
Keep it in mind. Also, we need to understand that, we need to present our facts. We need not raise a level of voice, but the content and matter of our argument is very important. Therefore, we might differ, but let's agree.
Okay,
to disagree.
okay, come back to the issue. Come back to the issue. Yeah,
we need
yeah.
to understand and respect each other's views. And also, as a matter of fact, yes, this is being moved to the Supreme Court of India. The petitioners, respective petitioners, Sayyida, Zarfa and Alia.
Okay, Raman Malik, Sayyid Abbas, Ifra Jan all say they are ready for the battle to go to the Supreme Court now. That's what Mr. Owaisi has also urged the petitioners to do. Raman Malik, is the battle now moving to the ambit of the apex court?
I only would say this much, that it is under their constitutional rights to go to the Honorable Supreme Court and challenge this particular order, because that is what the Constitution says. But at the same point, where they have been commenting on the Sikhs, they must go and revisit the 1954 judgment. And if they have a problem with it, they must also go to the Honorable Supreme Court seeking another review of it.
Let's get in the legal
Before
perspective. Let's get in the legal perspective
Let's
there.
keep politics away from academics and education for once.
Okay. Okay, that's a strong plea, of course, from Mr. Verma there. But back to the legalities of it all, Rekha Agarwal. Sayyid Abbas drawing a distinction there, or rather comparing Sikhism with Islam, saying when students of Sikh faith can be allowed turbans, why not hijab and burqa for students of the Muslim faith? Is that a fair comparison, or are the two different?
Very simply put, as I have been
legally speaking.
Yes, repeatedly I have been, discussing about the Shirur Mat judgment of 1954, in which the Honorable Supreme Court has laid down the doctrine of essentiality. And there, in that judgment, the Supreme Court has said very clear that it is for the courts to decide that what constitutes an essential religious practice or not. It is not I who's saying that wearing a pagdi is part of an essential Sikh practice or not. That is what the Honorable Supreme Court has said, that yes, the courts have to determine, and therefore, once it has been held that wearing a pagdi or dastar, dastar bandi ceremony is there for young Sikh children. Once the dastar bandi ceremony has taken place and a Sikh boy wears a turban, after that, since it is integral to his religion, he can be permitted to wear that. Now, what Dr. Sayyid Abbas said, he just compared, if I would say so with utmost respect to Dr. Abbas, that is a rather specious comparison. You just can't compare one religion to another. Every religion has got its own essential religious rituals.
You are comparing
Now,
apples and oranges, Syed.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
a quick
comparing
rebut
apples
to
and oranges.
Ms. Agarwal ji. Yeah, first and foremost, I know many of my friends, my Sikh brothers, ma'am, who come to the Gurudwara with me here in Alsur, Bangalore. They do not wear a turban and they are still
That's
Sikh.
choice.
They consider
Dr.
themselves a
Abbas.
Sikh. So why the double
Abbas.
standards?
No. I'm sorry. They may not wear a turban, but they are not allowed to enter the Gurdwara without that the covering on their head. Without the covering on their head, they are not allowed entry into the Gurdwara. Let's be
They
clear.
are practicing Sikhs. They do consider themselves a Sikh.
Yes.
They follow the religion, but they do not wear the turban.
Yes, so that's
does
choice.
that,
So
in any way
therefore
make
you
them-
can't.
So
Dr.
therefore it is
Abbas,
the choice of a Muslim girl. So
Dr.
you cannot
Abbas,
have double standards.
Okay, 10 seconds, Ifrajan. 10 seconds, Ifrajan. 10 seconds, Ifrajan.
1954
Dr.
argument.
You see what
So
we are
therefore,
doing
there are
here.
Muslim
Can I
girls
please speak
who
in
wear
just a
a
sec?
hijab
What
or
we
who
are
don't,
doing
it is their
here
choice.
is that you
Likewise,
see what
my
we are
Sikh brothers
what
have
we
their
are
own
doing
choice.
here
So therefore, you
is
cannot
that-
have double
Yeah.
standards here, quoting behind 1954.
Can I
No,
please
Dr.
speak?
Abbas,
Yeah.
no.
You see, the test of essential religious practice actually comes in when the rights of somebody else are violated. So only it's not to say that, when someone else's rights are violated, only then that the test is invoked. I have so far refused to understand from any of the panelists that how is it that if a girl wears a hijab to school, how does it affect the rights of her fellow classmates?
Raman.
Number two,
Raman.
No, it doesn't affect others. It affects her. It affects her.
Raman.
No, please, you don't choose for her. The second thing that we have said is that in South Africa, for example, constantly we are harping on essential religious practices. What we need to harp on is that a uniform has to be accommodative of every religious and cultural
Raman.
community in India,
Raman.
just like you have in other parts of the world.
Rekhan Raman.
Third, one
Rekhan
last
Raman.
point,
Rekhan
Ifra.
Raman.
I would want to make one last point, which I'm constantly trying to make, that please hear me out, ma'am. There was a case in the South Africa, I'm talking about South Africa,
I heard that.
where a
We heard
Hindu girl wanted to wear a nose pin to school.
Yes.
The South African court did not put her in a katkara and said to prove karo ye.
Rekhan Raman. Ifra, you made that point earlier.
The nose pins
Allowed her,
or
the South African
or
court
the-
allowed her and said that
the schools in
diversity
India
is
also
essential
very
to their
clearly say
country.
what you can wear in your ears and what you cannot. You cannot have the dangling earpieces on you.
It is cultural.
Even the
It
teachers
is
are not
for
allowed to
different
do so. So
for
you must
different
understand
areas,
even
it's
those are
different.
prescribed in the uniform. So
Ifra.
don't give illogical explanation, number one. Number
There
two,
is no
you must
illogical
also
explanation here.
must understand that the rule of law is supreme.
Rekha,
You
10 seconds.
cannot
Rekha,
have
10
it
seconds.
above and beyond the law.
Ifra, dear Ifra, I'm sorry, Ifra, I think I've not made myself clear. Please don't get me wrong. Here, when you talk, you're drawing a wrong comparison by bringing in South Africa and saying that they have the accommodative uniform. The moment you use the word accommodative, then that means there is no uniform. Therefore,
No, absolutely wrong,
Okay.
ma'am. You have to see
sorry.
uniform pictures
Please
of
let me
uniform
complete.
where a
Okay.
hijab is allowed to be.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to stop you all there. This has been a very passionate and well-argued debate, and we've tried to get in all voices and all sides and give them a fair chance to have their say, but I'm afraid we've completely run out of time. It seems this matter is headed to the Supreme Court, but for now, the High Court has had its say. We will, of course, continue to track all reactions coming into this story, but let's certainly hope that at least now, for the time being, let schools and educational institutions open and have classes once again in Karnataka. Let this issue be settled for now, at least in Karnataka, before the battle starts in the Supreme Court as well.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.